Tonight, testimony by the Prime Minister. Justin Trudeau defends his decisions at the inquiry on foreign interference. Damaging intelligence leaks and warnings from CSIS.
We couldn't actually correct the record.
And his message to Beijing.
I needed China to stop interfering in Canadian democratic processes.
Holding steady, the financial impact as the Bank of Canada keeps interest rates right where they are.
You need to do what's right for your family.
Also, new research about a supplement that could prevent symptoms of depression in new mothers.
That could really change someone's life.
We're getting closer, but we're not there yet.
Plus, ramping up efforts for a whale of a rescue. And the young girl showing you can fight City Hall.
They canceled the water slide.
The budget battle after support for a fully accessible water slide dries up.
Nobody wants to be left out.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Heather Butts.
Good evening. The most anticipated testimony at the inquiry into foreign interference today. The Prime Minister questioned for nearly 3 hours on his knowledge of election meddling and what he chose to do about it. Justin Trudeau's high-profile appearance followed testimony by 3 other top MPs, including Bill Blair, former public safety minister, who said he was not concerned when learning of irregularities after the 2019 election, a sentiment echoed by the Prime Minister.
Irregularities being observed is not itself enough to overturn a democratic event.
The inquiry was triggered by a steady drip of leaks, some of that intelligence catching the country's leader off guard. CTV's Judy Trin takes us through his testimony.
Under oath, the Prime Minister said he mainly relies on oral briefings.
It is much more of a conversation than someone reading a prepared text.
At the airport on the 2019 campaign trail, Trudeau was told about CSIS concerns the Chinese government was using proxies to help Han Dong win the Liberal nomination. Trudeau and his minister defended the decision to allow Dong to stay.
I specifically inquired about was whether or not that there was any intelligence or suggestion that Mr. Dong was aware of this potential interference or in any way a willing participant, and the indication that CSIS provided me with that at that time was that they had no evidence.
Despite concerns, Trudeau testified he wanted to defend Dong against allegations he spoke to a Chinese official about delaying the release of the 2 Michaels.
We couldn't actually correct the record without, in some cases, confirming the tradecraft and the work that women and men in our security agencies and sources relied upon by our security agencies to keep Canadians and our institutions safe without putting them at risk.
There was other intelligence the Prime Minister found out through leaks, not briefings, including that Beijing wanted to funnel $250,000 to help 7 Liberals and 4 Conservative candidates get elected.
We had never been briefed on until we saw them in the papers because following the leaks.
There were at least 34 records of CSIS briefings on foreign interference. Intelligence experts say vulnerabilities within government and political parties have been revealed.
It's important for all political parties to undertake measures to mitigate the risks to the integrity of their own internal processes, whether it's nomination fights, whether it's other kinds of vulnerabilities to their information, to their membership lists, to their fundraising.
Justice Marie-Josée Hogue will have less than a month to analyze how intelligence flows through the government. She'll file an interim report by May 3rd. Heather.
Judy, thank you for this. A Conservative motion demanding the Prime Minister participate in a televised emergency meeting on carbon pricing with Canada's premiers has passed with support from the NDP.
Canadians want to see their politicians trying to work out their differences.
The non-binding motion was backed by the NDP and the Bloc Québécois, though it's not the first time the New Democrats have sided with the Tories on issues related to the carbon tax. Disappointment for those hoping to see interest rates come down. The Bank of Canada is holding steady at 5%, but it is starting to see economic conditions necessary for a possible cut. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver reports.
For 8 months, the Bank of Canada has held steady at 5%, but today the governor signaled rate cuts could be coming as soon as June.
Yes, it's within the realm of possibilities. Look, I think we've been pretty clear. We are encouraged by what we've seen since January.
Over the last few months, the economy has slowed and inflation has come down to 2.8%, still off the bank's 2% target, which it doesn't expect to hit until 2025.
Business bankruptcies way up. We've seen employment flatline and the unemployment rate come up. And in a way, these are good things for the bank in the sense that monetary policy is working. It's slowed the economy, and there should be some room here to start maneuvering.
But the economic pressures influencing potential rate cuts could be threatened, the bank says, by wars in the Middle East and Ukraine, as well as by high shelter costs that continue to rise due to increasing rent and mortgage costs.
I know a lot of people are really hanging on, waiting for the rates to come down, but it's going to be slow. If you are in a position to buy. You need to do what's right for your family.
When rates do start to come down, economists say consumers can expect to see a slight decline of their debt servicing charges.
Now, it's not a huge amount of relief if we compare it to where we were prior to the rate increases. But having said that, I do think that there is some relief in the pipeline, and we'll get even more relief in 2025.
Many economists doubt rates will return to historic lows, expecting instead that the key interest rate will eventually drop to around 3%. The Bank of Canada will make its next rate decision, Heather, on June 5th.
All right, Annie, thanks. At least 3 people are injured after a shooting at a crowded Ramadan celebration in West Philadelphia.
Everyone just started running and scattering around, and you hear babies crying, people on the ground. It's crazy.
Close to 1,000 people were at the festival marking the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. The chaotic scene sent people scattering in search of safety when multiple suspects fired into the crowd near one of the city's largest mosques. 5 people are in custody. Here at home, safety on public transit has become a growing concern across the country. Within Montreal's metro system, a string of violent incidents has left passengers shaken and stunned. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Boschman on the new measures to address the issue.
Montreal's metro is one of North America's busiest rapid transit systems. But escalating violence is driving up fear among riders now.
I just feel like there's odd things happening at night.
Last Friday night, police arrested 4 teenagers after the random stabbing of a homeless man. On the same night, same station, a woman reported being punched in the face. Today, officials launched what they called Operation Reassurance, posting extra special constables and safety ambassadors at 10 stations throughout operating hours.
The main goal is to improve the level of the feeling of security and to ensure that there will be quick response in case of event.
In Montreal in 2020, there were over 31,000 incidents. In 2023, 47,000. But other Canadian cities too have struggled for solutions in the post-pandemic return to ridership. Societal issues at large impact transit systems, including the housing crisis, struggles in mental health. And public transit violence in cities including Toronto was particularly high in 2023.
There simply aren't enough roads and cars that the transit has to be an affordable, safe, and reliable option for all.
The Canadian Urban Transit Association says several measures are helping curb attacks in some cities.
In Toronto, they've stepped up in enforcement, stepped up presence.
Some cities are investing in cleaning and redesigning stations to make them safer, all part of restoring commuters' confidence. The association is asking for targeted federal funding for concrete measures like surveillance cameras or designated safety zones so that riders don't have to pay for the price of safety in higher fares. Geneviève Boschman, CTV News, Montreal.
There is a risk Canada could see a repeat of last summer's record-breaking wildfire season. Widespread drought and warmer weather means a risk of intense burns through the spring and summer. CTV's Sarah Plowman has more.
70 wildfires burn in Canada, many smoldering from last year when wildfires raged from Nova Scotia to the Northwest Territories. Millions of hectares burned, tens of thousands were on the run, smoke choked the air. Last fire season was Canada's worst ever. This season, officials say unusually warm weather and droughts raise the risk of another devastating year.
With the heat and dryness across the country, we can expect that the wildfire season will start sooner and end later and potentially be more explosive.
Alberta declared its fire season in February as conditions from Quebec and westward are ripe for early fires. Less snowpack doesn't help. Today, officials stressed a lot will depend on precipitation.
Now, it is impossible to predict with certainty that the summer that lies ahead of us. But what is clear is that wildfires will represent a significant challenge for Canada into the future.
Ottawa is doubling a tax credit for volunteer firefighters to $6,000. Firefighters had asked for $10,000.
We are very appreciative of the $6,000 that we're going to now. We will continue to have these conversations. We will continue to advocate.
As firefighters prepare, experts urge Canadians can too by removing hazards from their home and clearing away vegetation.
Fire is such a big issue now in BC and Canada at large that we really need an all-of-society solution.
This former firefighter believes prevention is key.
We can respond to fires quite quickly when they're small. We can respond to fires when they're sat down, but it's very difficult to respond to these catastrophic fires.
Today, experts noted how human activity is usually the main fire risk in spring, anything from burning to off-road vehicles. Heather.
Thanks, Sarah. A longtime Donald Trump loyalist and one-time top executive at the Trump Organization is going to prison.
Alan, good morning. How do you feel?
Former Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg was sentenced today to 5 months for perjury. He lied under oath about the size of Trump's New York apartment while testifying at Trump's civil fraud trial. Trump and Joe Biden managed to agree on something today. Arizona's near total ban on abortion goes too far. This after the state's Supreme Court brought in one of the strictest abortion bans in America. Here's Joy Melvin in Washington.
More fallout over that stunning Arizona court ruling reviving a Civil War-era law that would ban nearly all abortions.
Shame on you!
Republicans in the state capitol shouted down for blocking an effort to repeal the law.
It's like we're going back in time.
We need to stand together and protect our rights.
The 1864 law would criminalize nearly all abortions except when the mother's life is at risk. The ruling on hold for 14 days, but Arizona's Attorney General says she won't enforce it.
No, I'm not going to allow any county attorney to prosecute abortion.
Seizing on the anger over abortion bans, in a presidential election year, Democrats wasted no time blaming Donald Trump. In a gut-wrenching campaign ad,
Here's her little baby book.
A Texas woman says she nearly died from infections, denied an abortion in her own state. Democrats using Trump's own words against him.
54 years they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
The former president proudly boasts about how he ended Roe v. Wade that legalized abortion by appointing conservative judges who overturned it. 2 days after Trump says states should make their own laws, he now thinks Arizona has gone too far.
Yeah, they did, and that'll be straightened out, and as you know, it's all about states' rights.
President Joe Biden and the Democrats making abortion rights central to their campaign against Trump. His advice to voters?
Elect me. I'm in the 20th century, 21st century, not back then.
Abortion will be on the ballot in 14 states, including Arizona, come November, setting up a fierce political fight in a battleground state that could very well decide who wins the White House. Heather?
Joy, thank you. In Gaza, families are marking the end of Ramadan in the shadow of war. Many visited the graves of loved ones killed in the last 6 months, as the Israeli military says it has killed 3 sons of a Hamas leader in an airstrike in Gaza. Coming up, progress in the treatment of postpartum depression.
It's fairly easy to take, given it's only 4 dosings, that could really change someone's life.
The new supplement developed by Canadian scientists. Plus, the first Olympic sport to pay prize money. Many new mothers experience postpartum or baby blues. Now, major progress in preventing the deeper depression that lasts much longer. A new supplement developed by scientists at CAMH, Canada's largest mental health teaching hospital, has shown great success in reducing symptoms. CTV's Heather Wright explains.
When Nyla Obaid's daughter was born 7 years ago, the Toronto mom says she knew nothing about babies.
I'd never held a baby, I just didn't have any experience.
While Obaid read books about what to expect as a new mom, she says she wasn't prepared for the mental health challenges.
When she was born and I was basically catatonic, that was, I would say, just the most challenging experience.
Obaid was diagnosed with postpartum depression, something she experienced with all 3 of her kids.
I wasn't shy about being something hurts or the other more physical symptoms, but I was very ashamed of not being able to handle my own mind.
Postpartum depression affects roughly 13% of all mothers, and those who experience the baby blues shortly after giving birth are more likely to develop postpartum depression later on. Dr. Jeffrey Meyer is a researcher with CAMH and determined that a protein called MAOA spikes post-childbirth, blocking many key chemicals like serotonin and dopamine. The hope is by treating the baby blues right away, it will prevent mothers from experiencing full-blown postpartum depression.
There's a great opportunity, this window of time, which was what the supplement was designed for.
The supplement is taken in 4 doses, starting on day 3 post-birth.
The supplement has ingredients to compensate for these effects. So one of them is as an antioxidant. It also has the building blocks of serotonin and norepinephrine and dopamine, these amino acids.
In a trial, 66% of those who consume the drinks experience either no symptoms or negligible symptoms of postpartum blues, with no known side effects.
It's only 4 dosings that could really change someone's life.
Called Blues Away in the States, it will soon be available there, as supplements don't require FDA approval. Health Canada still needs to greenlight it here before it can be sold. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up, holding out hope for a baby orca. The rescue plan unfolding in BC. The race to help an orphan baby orca is growing more dire as rescuers come up with an elaborate plan to remove it from a BC lagoon. The orca has been swimming around the waters near Zabalis on the northwest coast of Vancouver Island. CTV's Andrew Johnson is in the remote community tonight.
Last-minute preparations are going ahead next to a remote Vancouver Island lagoon for a delicate rescue to save the life of an orphaned killer whale calf.
This is probably, the most dangerous part of the whole process is actually capturing the whale and putting it back into its own environment.
To pull it off, the Ahadisat First Nation is working with experts from Fisheries and Oceans Canada, as well as the Vancouver Aquarium. They're going to use netting to capture the whale, potentially tranquilize the animal, move her by truck to a pen in open water, then hopefully reunite her with her family.
We're getting closer, but we're not there yet to actually helping the whale.
The whale the First Nation calls Brave Little Hunter swam into the shallow lagoon with her pregnant mother 2.5 weeks ago. The mother became stranded on a rocky beach and died. Her calf now trapped by the tides. To give you an idea of how difficult it would be for the young whale to swim out of this lagoon, this is low tide. It would be impossible for the whale to get from over here, behind me, over there, under the bridge, and back into open water. Experts believe when the two whales swam into the lagoon, Mom was teaching her baby how to hunt seals. Now that 2-year-old is alone and stuck in a small area without a proper food source. Time is not on her side. That's why the tricky rescue attempt, which carries its own risk, is being so intricately planned. It's expected to go ahead any day. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Zabalis, BC.
A Toronto Raptors player could face expulsion from the NBA if gambling-related accusations against him are found to be true. Jonte Porter has not played since the league said it was investigating betting patterns surrounding his on-court performance from 2 games in January and March. Commissioner Adam Silver calls player gambling a cardinal sin and says possible discipline could be to ban him from the game. And for the first time in Olympic history, some gold medals at this summer's Paris Games will come with a cash prize. Track and field athletes who finish at the top of the podium will take home $50,000 US along with their gold medal. From the track to the pool, next, one girl's push for accessibility. A persuasive and passionate 5-year-old girl is standing up for an entire community. Blake Turnbull is pressing City Council for an elevator at a Regina water park, a fight that would allow her and her friends access to the slide with their wheelchairs. Here's CTV's Alison Bamford.
As this outdoor pool sits empty, still closed for the season, 5-year-old Blake Turnbull has dreams of one day going down the water slide.
That would be so fun, I think.
Blake has spina bifida and uses a wheelchair. Without an elevator to reach the top, her dream likely won't become a reality.
Other people, they need it, and nobody wants to be left out.
The city initially approved the installation of an elevator to improve accessibility at the new pool, but later shelved the plan due to cost.
I would like to call upon Delegation Blake Turnbull.
That's why Blake is sitting in front of City Council in her best dress to convince them to change their minds.
I think it's really important that people come and advocate for themselves, and a 5-year-old who would benefit from an accessible water slide is here advocating for themselves, and that's super important.
Council is discussing a last-ditch effort that would lower costs and keep the elevator dream alive.
This is a strong signal to the community, to the people in our community, that we will fight for you. We will fight for inclusion.
That's exactly what Blake is doing, fighting not just for herself, but also her friends.
And some people at my daycare have wheelchairs.
And Sarah Turnbull is standing behind her daughter, supporting the young advocate every step of the way.
She'd rather do things by herself than with me. And that actually goes back to even the elevator, like enabling her to be independent and to be part of the community.
Regardless of the outcome, Sarah says this has been a huge learning opportunity for Blake, something she'll likely draw on the next time she lobbies at City Hall. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
So inspiring. That's our newscast. I'm Heather Butts. Thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.